Today I actually received a letter from a young lady named Marla, and it's something that I need to address because I think we all go through this sort of thing while we're learning a new language. We may feel overwhelmed, we may feel inadequate. At the same time, we just don't know where to start. So let me go ahead and read to you what Marla wrote to me. Hello, Elizabeth. I've always wanted to learn French and collected so many books over the last few years, but I'm overwhelmed where to start. How do you start a new language? And how do you keep consistent? In other words, retain words. I also want to learn Farsi, but after writing a few characters, I usually stop. What's the thought that keeps you going versus my negative thoughts like, you'll never use this language, you're wasting your time, it won't make you money, you'll forget it anyways, etc. Thanks, Marla. No, Marla, thank you. Actually, I have these kind of self-defeating thoughts myself. And it's very hard to get over them, especially when you really want to learn a language. So the first step, I would say, if you already have a collection of books, which I also do, I say pick up the easiest phrase book that you can find. That is something that you are going to use right away. So obviously you're not going to go for the verb drills book, and I have one, or even the more hard stuff like grammar. The first month of learning a language, you really just want to learn how can I say, you want to get acquainted with the language. So you want to start listening to the language and start speaking. It's actually the best way to learn a language, I feel. The second thing I would think about is, have you carved out enough time for your language? I find that if I don't carve out at least 1 hour a day, I am definitely going to fail, no doubt. I actually I enrolled for a class on Future Learn. It was introductory Italian. And basically, I missed 2 days too many because by the second week, I was completely lost. I was overwhelmed, and I just quit. And that's usually not how I do things, but it does happen. It happens to everyone. So I say the more that you carve out for your language, the more time, the faster you'll get there. It's that simple. Sometimes I know that life can get hectic, and sometimes you'll skip a day or two, and that's perfectly fine. But it's like exercise, right? Oh God. It's like exercise. If you skip too many days, you start losing the language. You start losing your progress. So just keep that in mind. Carve yourself a good amount of time that works for you. Maybe 30 minutes is more than enough for you. I'm just saying, personally, 1 hour or more works. Then the third thing I would think about is having a plan. Do you have a specific roadmap for this? Where do you want to be in 30 days? Do you just want to be able to talk to your neighbor in French? Or do you want to visit Paris in 6 months and want to be completely fluent? Those two things take a different approach. So you kind of have to figure out what you're going to use the language for, how you're going to use it, and when you want to use it by. The fourth thing I could think about right now is you have to write it all down. Get yourself a journal. What works for me. Or Post-it are a really good thing. Start just posting things around the house. I remember there was one time where my house was literally covered in Post-its. It's been covered in Post-its for Italian, for German, for French, for Dutch. And what's fun is that if you have a significant other, they actually start to learn the language too. But anyways, write it down, create yourself a little journal, whatever works for you. Understand that how I do things is going to be a little bit different how you do things because I learn differently than you. But my suggestion is to write things down and study your notes often. So it's not just write them down and forget about them. You really do have to study your own notes. Let's see, what else could I say? And number five, because you talk about having negative thoughts while you're learning or while you're struggling to learn a language. And I just have to say this. And I'm repeating it for myself too. Have more self-compassion. Nobody learns a language by osmosis. I didn't learn how to speak Spanish or English or anything for that matter as soon as I got out of my mom's womb. Of course, that would have been nice. But it doesn't happen that way. And sometimes you will get frustrated. And at those times, you do need to pull back a little bit. Give yourself a break. Go for a walk. Watch some TV. Whatever it is that you need to do to relax and calm yourself down. Because sometimes those negative thoughts feed upon themselves when you sit at home and you just keep thinking about them. And again, it goes back to figuring out why you're learning the language in the first place. For me, I learned French because I just loved the culture. And when I mean love, it's a little obsessive, if you ask me. I have a room that is basically a French style room. And anytime I feel like I'm getting flustered with a language, I actually go up there and it's my little sanctuary. And of course, not everybody's going to have a dedicated room for the language of their choice. I get that. But do whatever feels right for you. Sometimes you do have to pull back. But don't let those negative feelings and emotions get to you. Because you're probably learning the language because you fell in love with the culture, its people, the country, food even. And you're on the right track. It's just going to take a little bit of time. And that's okay. You learn differently than I do and than the next person. Sure, I would love to have 15 languages under my belt and be completely fluent in all of them. But I know that it's going to take time and it's going to take a lot of work. And I have to be compassionate to myself and realize that. And that's it. If you have any more questions, please feel free to send me an email. There's a contact form on my blog. That's allezelizabeth. That's ALLEZ Elizabeth.com. And again, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to email me. And I guess that's pretty much it for this video. I feel like I'm getting too spunky and too blah. So, and I have to post for today. I have to do my stuff. Anyway, so girl be Sue, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye! Or au revoir. Are you a travel junkie, foodie, or a language learning nerd like me? You can follow my adventures at www.allezelizabeth.com. And don't forget to sign up for the 31-day Aspiring Polyglot Challenge. Eat well, travel often, and learn a new language today. Allons-y! Bonus tip. I knew I'd forgot one at least. But here's the thing. And this is actually relating to Farsi because I'm learning Farsi right now. It's hard.